Good morning. It's now time to call our regular meeting of the Bulloch County Board of Commissioners to order. I would like to welcome the media and any visitors that are here. I see Cross Connect on the front. I would like to also remind everybody to silence your cell phones and other devices so that we can conduct the meeting without interruption. And as you see, Chairman Thompson is not here this morning. He had some things going on with his heart, so maybe we'll say a special prayer for him and his family during this time. And with that, I'll ask Commissioner Toby Connor to lead the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, Father, Lord, thank you for today that you've given us, Lord. Thank you for a place to come and conduct business for the citizens of this county, Lord. Thank you for all the way we fared after the storm that come our way, Lord, how the citizens bowed their backs and stood up for this community and fought, and how we're back into working order now, Lord. Thank you for the men and women on the ground that kept us safe through the storm. Thank you for the troops and all those overseas, Lord. I ask you to bring them home again. And Father, Lord, as we go into the rest of this meeting, I ask that everything we do be an emblem of you. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Connor. I now like to call on Ms. Mincy White. We'll do the roll call for the commissioners.
I, Venus Mincy White, present as Clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman Roy Thompson, Vice Chairman Kurt Deal.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Jappy Stringer. Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
I've determined that we have 5 members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct the business of Bulloch County for the good of the citizens. I now yield the floor back to Vice Chairman Deal.
Thank you, Ms. White. Now we're going to have a couple of special presentations, employee recognitions. I'm going to turn the floor over to County Manager Tom Couch.
Thank you, Mr. Deal, and I would ask Ms. Lee and Mr. Fuller to approach the podium with me, please. At ease. Yes. Thank you for being here this morning, and if you'll join me in addressing the commissioners first. We frequently, and more so beyond occasion, have the opportunity to recognize some exceptional things that our employees do, and we have 2 very good examples of that today, and the exceptionalism is in the way they both serve the organization and the community. And the recognition we want to put praise upon them for. First, Miss Ty Lee, this is her second school bag drive within the county that she put together. She actually did it last year, and I think we did a fail by not recognizing her then. But for the second time around, we even need to recognize her more. But I think Ty, you put together 280 bags that were donated with the help of some other volunteers. But you assembled them, and the up front was the staging area, and what you did, I think, in my opinion, really speaks well of the servant's heart that you have. You did ask for a little bit of help from Daryl Hopkins, and all you got out of it was a bag of Doritos and a Coke. I think we can do a little better than that today. But that was just a friendly challenge among them. And then we have Peyton Fuller, who just received a professional credential. You're now a certified economic developer, and that was through was that the Vincent Institute of Government? Yeah. At the University of Georgia. And Peyton is another leader with a servant's heart. He's also been in leadership Southeast Georgia and leadership Bulloch, and he's deeply involved in the community in a lot of ways that stress economic development. As you know, there's many legs to that. But have you been on the CVB board too? Is that correct? Yes. So,
Probably 6 years.
yes, he's done all kinds of volunteer service as well. But what we want to do is congratulate Peyton on his achievement and Ty as well. And I think, Ty, maybe if you can get up to 400 next year in your third year, maybe Darrell Hopkins will get you a cheeseburger or something. But we really want to thank these folks for their achievement and their volunteerism, and again, their servant leadership. And we'd like to give you a little bit of Bulloch County swag, although I put a special treat in there for you. It's not a cheeseburger, but you'll like it. But, and Kurt, if you want to say a few words.
I just want to reiterate what County Manager said. Thank y'all for your going above and beyond your regular duties here at work and being an outreach and service to our community. This is a certificate presented to, I'm just going to call you Ty Lee, for leading the second annual countywide Bulloch County Board of Commissioners Back to School Supply Drive, supplying 280 bags to the community. And the same, this certificate is presented to Peyton Fuller in recognition of his commitment to economic development and community leadership in completing Georgia Certified Economic Developer Certificate, August 20th, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to both of you.
Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any other discussion or modifications desired by the county manager or the board?
County Manager has none this morning, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda, and I'll need a,
Mr. Chairman, do we need to vote on
I'm sorry, yes,
I make a motion that we accept the general
general
agenda.
agenda. I have a motion and a second. Do we have any objections? All in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Unanimous decision. And we're going to move into the consent agenda, and I'm going to read these all out, and if there's any that would like to be pulled and voted on separately, we can do that at this time.
You want the motion for the ones to be pulled at this time?
Yes, if you have one that needs to be pulled.
I'd like to make a motion to pull line item number 2 from the consent agenda and move it under new business. Commissioner Connor wanted me to do that. That ties directly into his immediate family, and he would like to recuse himself when that's voted on.
Okay.
I don't think you necessarily need a motion. Just any commissioner can ask that it be moved So you don't need a motion and a second on that. It's,
As stated, Chairman.
Okay. So we're going to pull line item number 2 from the consent agenda and move it to new business. All right, I'm going to proceed to read the items under the consent agenda before we vote on the remaining items. Number 1, motion to approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-250 from Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln Government Sales in the amount of $64,956. Number 2, motion to, number 3, motion to approve an E911 yearly service and support contract with Motorola Solutions in the amount of $188,372.25. Number 4, motion to approve a Pyro Show's East Coast bid for the annual Firecracker Fest fireworks display in the amount of $20,000. Number 5, motion to approve an athletic program picture bid from Envision Pics, also known as Loretta and Company. Number 6, motion to approve an athletic programs trophies bid from Georgia Correctional Industries in the amount of $9,747.45, plus a $65 delivery for each time. Number 7, motion to approve a quote from Musco Sports Lighting LLC, purchased through Southwell for athletic field lighting at Brooklet Park in the amount of $450,500. Motion to approve the purchase of DX upgrade for the 911 login recorder from Quality Recording Solutions LLC in the amount of $56,530. Number 9, motion to approve and ratify the purchase of traffic control equipment needed due to Tropical Storm Debbie in the amount of $42,000 from Middle Georgia Signs. Number 10, motion to approve the purchase of emergency number 4 wash stone from Vulcan Materials Company in the amount of $22,128.39. Number 11, motion to approve the purchase of a Ford F-450 ambulance from Custom Truck and Body Works in the amount of $339,135. Number 12, motion to approve diesel engine repairs to 2 2021 Hemi engines. That would be engine number 2 and number 7. This would be to Cummins Savannah in the amount of $51,982.63. And number 13, motion to approve the purchase of emergency barriers from Safety Products in the amount of $15,200. So we have 12 items now under the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve these?
So moved, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous.
Go with the order.
Go right on in the new.
Yeah, the calling be number 4.
Okay. All right, we'll go into new business now. Will be led by County Attorney Jeff Akins. This approve a contract for acquisition of navigation easement with Kara Elizabeth Anderson and Leslie Anderson.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county needs this navigation easement on 1.65 acres of property adjacent to the airport in order to limit the height of objects on the property to comply with regulations of the Federal Aviation Administration. And some of you who have been here a while will recall we've gotten some of these before. It's to protect the airspace and to protect the integrity of the runways for planes using the airport. The contract you have before you provides for the acquisition of this abrogation easement from the owners of the property for a purchase price of $3,500, which equals the appraised fair market value of the easement. And this is a perpetual easement, so it will bind the current owners and also any future owners of the property. And we recommend approval. I don't know, is David Campbell here this morning from the airport? Okay, he may not have made it, but anyway, that's the gist of it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. And we just ask that you'd approve the contract.
You've heard the presentation from County Attorney. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any further discussion? Sorry. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Next item, number 2, be motion to approve execution of application to GDOT for flashing beacons at US Highway 25 at Rocky Ford Road intersection. This will be led by County Engineer Brad Deal.
Good morning, County Engineer Brad Deal. So over the years, we have received some requests from citizens to make some safety improvements to this intersection. A couple of years ago, Public Works actually installed some flashing beacons on Rocky Ford Road in advance of the intersection on both sides. And GDOT upgraded some of the signage in that area. So what this request is a standard form that GDOT requires for any kind of improvements that they would make. They're doing a traffic study on the intersection currently, so nothing's been committed, but if it was, if they did determine that flashing beacons would be installed, they typically require the county to pay for any kind of electrical costs, although now, for the most part, they're using solar-powered flashing beacons, so I don't think there would be any cost to the county, and GDOT would actually maintain the flashing beacons. And so if their study determined that flashing beacons would be warranted at the intersection, they would put yellow flashing lights on Highway 25 in advance of the intersection, and then they would put red flashing beacons on the stop signs where Rocky Ford Road comes into US Highway 25. So it's a relatively simple request, no obligations from the county for maintenance or cost on it, but it hasn't been formally approved yet. They're still doing their traffic study. So that's it, and just let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Are there any other comments or discussion by the commissioners?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, right, show of hands. Unanimous decision. And Brad, you have the next one.
All right, so the next item is for Highway 80 at Akins Pond Road. And some of you may be familiar with this one. We've had several car crashes at the intersection, which has led to several citizen requests for some improvements there. Any kind of improvement that we do, or I say any kind of improvement that is done, would have to be approved by GDOT, since obviously they maintain Highway 80. When the Dollar General store that was constructed there several years ago, the county required a traffic study to be done at that time, and that study did not, I guess, the information in the study did not meet the warrants for a traffic study that GDOT has. So GDOT did not approve a signal when the Dollar General was built. But since that time, we have had, several car crashes. There's some limitations to the sight distance as you pull out of Akins Pond Road on the Highway 80, and most of the traffic is turning left, which leads to some unsafe situations there. So GDOT is conducting another traffic study of the intersection, and they have not made any determination if they would approve a signal at this time. But if they do, they require this paperwork to be submitted saying that Bulloch County would be responsible for any electrical costs for the traffic light, and that's kind of a standard procedure on any traffic light that they install. And they could possibly request that the county assist in cost of installation, but that hasn't been determined either, and that would have to come back to the board before, for approval, before any commitment would be made from the county on that, so. And I think you all may be aware the Sheriff's Department helps with traffic control at this intersection every morning. When school's getting in and out at William James, and then, you know, the traffic that comes out of Akins Pond Road and turns on the Highway 80, Sheriff's Department is assisting every morning and getting traffic in and out there. So, so there's obviously a need there to be looked at. So with that, let me know if you have any questions on it. I would recommend approval.
Brad, I've got a question. What would be the estimate cost for putting in a traffic signal intersection that size, approximately?
Typically, on the most recent ones that I've seen, there has to be some roadway improvements made at the intersection, and there would be on this one as well. So the traffic signal itself normally has been costing around $200,000 to $300,000, but then the roadway improvements would bring that up to around $500,000 or so. But at this point, we don't know if, you know, GDOT would be, how much of that they would fund, or would they fund the majority of it and then request some help from the county on it. And again, you know, if they did request some help from the county, we would have to bring that back to the board for approval before we, you know, made any decisions on that, so.
Sure. It'd be great if the GDOT would step up and help pay for that intersection. That'd be a big improvement.
Right, and at this stage, though, they still haven't approved it. They're still going through the study, and I think a lot of the basis of doing a new study was based on some traffic accidents that have happened in the last couple of years there, so.
Thank you, Brad. You know, the commissioners, any further comments, discussion from the commissioners?
And I'd like to say that is a real dangerous intersection out there. If anyone ever rides out there and stops at that store and tries to go back out on 80, doing those high traffic areas, even when it's not, it's kind of dangerous trying to get back out of there, because you look both ways and you think you're clear, and then by the time you get crossed to the middle of it, you got cars coming from both ways. So I think it's a much needed traffic study. I think it's a much needed traffic light out there, and for the safety of the citizens, and I think it's something we need to go forward with if the GDOT comes back and says that we need that traffic light out there.
I do have a question for Mr. Deal. I think across the road, is it either Colfax or Colfax Station Road?
It is.
Right,
You,
Colfax.
I think there might be a significant amount of right-of-way acquisition that's needed. If GDOT funded or co-funded this, would they be responsible for that, or would they put it in our hands, do you think?
It could, they've done it both ways. I've seen it done both ways, but they do, I would say the majority of what would have to be done would probably be in the GDOT right away, but I do agree. I think there would be some additional right-of-way acquisition that would have to be done probably on that side to make it pave a short section of the road coming into it. But,
And I don't know if there would be other interventions necessary, but the approach to 80 coming from that road to the unknowing or careless driver, unless you shave that road approach down and tried to correct some things, people may come at it too fast.
that is true, yes.
Do we have any further discussion?
Mr. Vice Chairman, with all the discussion, I agree it's needed, so I would move forward with a motion that we approve the execution of the application for GDOT for
for traffic signal at US 80 and Macon Pond Road intersection.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor? Raise your hands. Unanimous decision. The item moved over, I'm going to turn that over to County Attorney Jeff Akins, presentation on number 4.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Mark Bruce has asked that the county execute a quitclaim deed to the estate of W.K. Jones in order to clear title on certain property designated as Bulloch Street, Hill Street, James Street, Oak Street, and Pine Street on a plat dated in October of 1925, almost 100 years ago, and recorded in Plat Book 1, page 88 in the real estate records of the clerk of the Superior Court of Bulloch County, Georgia. This is a plat for a subdivision that was never developed, and to the best of my knowledge, Bulloch County never accepted or claimed any interest in the streets shown on the plat. So the county really doesn't have any interest in this property, but this is a common, I think the title insurance company that he uses has requested a quitclaim deed just to remove any potential title encumbrance or defect. And I don't see an issue with it, so I would recommend that you approve it. And I think this is the one Commissioner Connor wanted to recuse himself on.
Thank you, Mr. Akins. So y'all have heard presentation. Any questions, discussion by the board? If none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I make a motion that we approve this quitclaim deed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous decision. Thank you, Commissioners. Next, we'll move into public comments. I'll recognize those citizens who have signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, come to the podium, state your name, address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 5 minutes. We have someone signed up to speak this morning.
Taylor DeKalb. Down.
Ready? Ready? Go ahead, Mr. DeKalb. Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Taylor DeKalb. I live at 1043 Peachtree Place in Millen, Georgia. I'm here this morning to discuss a pioneering trapping program for Bulloch County. A little bit about myself. I've got 3 kids. I'm married to my wife. I met at GSU, and I graduated from there with a degree in civil engineering, so I do have a background kind of in the land and waterways and like that. But my professional experience, I've been trapping basically my entire life. I've been serving counties for 21 years. I was born into it. My dad's been trapping my whole life. I mean, from the time I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I remember going with him and trapping, and we're kind of a product of our location. We started when the counties we lived in and the surrounding counties offered a beaver program and expanded from there. Because of the work he did, it just grew and grew to where we trapped for 7 counties, kind of around the Moultrie, Talcott County area, and we could go anywhere in those 7 counties and catch beavers and turn them into the county. Some counties paid us by the location, some paid us by the animal. I'll get into more than that in just a minute. I'm fully licensed and insured. I've got a commercial trapping license, nuisance trapping license. I can trap on the right of way, so I have no issue there. A little bit of background about trapping. Sometimes it gets a bad look. It's kind of the good, the bad, and the necessary. Beavers create habitat. They dam up water to create habitat to have a place to live. Water is their safety. So that is the good part about the water that is created is habitat for them and for aquatic species. However, it's taken away habitat that of animals that did live there, prior to them being there. Some of the side effects that can come from that are, for right-of-way specific, you have, clogged pipes, the flooded shoulders of the roads. What you get saturation underneath the pavement collapses. So you get pipe leak by where the soil on the side of the pipe becomes saturated, water starts flowing underneath the road outside of the pipe, and you'll have some cave-ins, things like that. Private land, there's a plethora of things, from irrigation ditches, pond dams. With the rain that we had recently, a lot of that's attributed to undersized overflow systems on ponds. However, if those pipes or overflows were stopped up through beavers, then you will exacerbate the problem. And, some of those pond dams could have been lost because of that, or, the flooding that occurred could have been attributed to that as well. The impacts is obviously the cost, and where I would come in is reducing that cost to the county. I would work with the county, and I'd take a proactive approach to where I'll go catch the animals for the county, and instead of going there time and time again to open up the pipes and repair the roads, they call me. It's a one-stop shop. I'll go in, catch the animals, and the problem is solved. And obviously public safety. These roads are used every day by the citizens, and alleviating that issue, that threat, that is, you don't know until it's too late. Getting ahead of that. I'm a turnkey operation. And I trap for other counties as well. And so what they do is they send me a location. I'll go there. I'll get written permission. I will carry all the liability. I will catch the animals, ensure that they're gone, and then I will, at that time, turn in an invoice. That's how I work with Emmanuel County, Evans County. They pay me by the animal, and I can go countywide there. Kind of the strategy I foresee for Bulloch County. This is, I haven't discussed this much at all with Mr. Butler, Public Works Commissioner, but the kind of the vision I see for Bulloch County is, the first few years I'm working on possible right-of-way locations where they're having issues that you will see a direct impact on, and focus on those areas. And then once those are under control, then branch out more into the county. Kind of the model I put together would be the first 1 to 3 years focus on the right-of-way issues. Year 4, somewhere in there, maybe go countywide, west of 301. And then, after that, I could possibly take on the entire county. I do have a slide up here that shows some of the territory that I do trap. Right now, I cover the eastern half of Emmanuel County, and then, I'm sorry. Keep going. Okay. I cover the eastern half of Emmanuel County, and Evans County as well is the lower circle. Disregard the color of those pins. Those are just pins where locations I've trapped. In Emmanuel County, in the last 2 years, I've trapped 44 locations for them, and that is beavers are gone. That's not, the problem's under control. That's I go back 2 weeks out later and make sure they're gone, then send in the invoice. In Evans County, I trapped 31 locations last year, and I'll be glad to submit any referrals or references I need for that. And then I do have a location here from Bulloch County that I trapped last year for a friend of mine from college. It just kind of shows some of the impacted areas. So he's got 40 acres of timberland that was flooded. The trees are gone right now. The county did have 3 locations. This is off Homer Smith and Jerry Hall. He did not want me to catch all the beavers out of there. But this is just showing one location and the impact they can do. So, he's got 40 acres of flooded timber that were heritage trees. And, giant cores of trees there, they're all gone. That was habitat that was roosting for turkeys, that was deer habitat, and various other wildlife. That would have been 3 right-of-way locations that could have been solved at one location just by catching those animals. Also with agricultural encroachment, those fields are not able to drain. And so you'll have impacts to farmers there as well. So that's just one example of what they can do at one location. And there's, pick a number, how many there are throughout the county. So in summary, hometown service, I met my wife at GSU. I feel like Bulloch County is home. I'd live here if I could, but work doesn't allow that at this time. Turnkey operation, how I prefer it is if I do it by the location, you drop me a pin on location, I'll go there, I'll get written permission, I'll catch all the animals, I'll check back, make sure the animals are gone, and then I'll submit an invoice. If I can go countywide, that's how I prefer it. That just gives me more flexibility at that time to take the money that's saved by solving the right-of-way locations for the county and serving the entire county. So you're basically giving back to all taxpayers at that point. And so, a proactive approach. We're not just opening dams up. Just whenever they cause a problem, you're actually going in there and solving the problem. And it's an immediate return on investment for taxpayers. Day one, you start catching animals, their county's not opening up pipes anymore, and I do open up 95% of the pipes that I go to. My goal is there, once the county tells me to go to a spot, they don't go back. And then it's on my radar and I can keep a check on it, and I'll stay in contact with the landowners throughout the year and serve them through that. But, I'll end with this. One thing my father-in-law taught me is he always said it only takes a little bit more to go first class. And I promise you, if we work something out, that you'll get first-class service. And I'll be happy to help facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeKalb. Mr. Butler, do you have any comments you'd like to add to this? Or I know at this point it'd be the two of y'all collaborating and then maybe bring something back to the commissioners at a later date, but go ahead and.
Yes. We actually met Mr. Taylor a couple of years ago. Commissioner Stringer and I met with him, and I don't know what the delay was over time, but anyway, he got back in touch with us. All of you know we have beaver issues. Beaver issues cause us a considerable amount of work on our roads, especially dirt road areas. We probably spend 20 hours a week with a backhoe and low boy and employees chasing beaver dams, keeping them broke, trying to keep the water flowing, keep it off the road beds. So that's 20 hours a week on that particular crew is about $300 an hour for that crew to run. So it's a considerable amount of money we spend every year to chase these beaver issues. If the system worked, it would definitely be beneficial for us. It would definitely free us up to do other things, especially since we are so short-handed on staff. So it is something that I think we could investigate a little deeper, maybe come back with some other kind of representation to y'all.
Okay, sounds good. We look forward to hearing. Thank you again.
Thomas Alley.
Morning. Thomas Alley at 221 Wellington Circle in Statesboro. Need to discuss an issue we're having with water coming off of Cypress Lake Road on our property in Iron Gate, just down from the east entrance. I think we have some pictures that are going to be presented today, but I'm not sure where they're at. Anyway, the pictures they're going to show the rear of the property taken by Regina Bulloch to show where the county dug under the fence to divert the Cypress Lake Road water onto the property at 221 Wellington Circle, just down from Iron Gate's east gate entrance. The wood fence has long since rotted and been removed in 2021. For years, water flowed under the fence into the backyard of the property, destroying the leach field, rotting out the rear deck on the property, and pushing up the air conditioner to where it's set at a 45-degree angle. This erosion left nothing but a sand lot for a backyard. It's important that a permanent solution be put in place to stop the diversion of water from Cypress Lake Road on 221 Wellington Circle. Currently, a berm is in place where the wood fence was at one point. It covers like 99% of the back border of the lot. And the small drainage ditch was dug between the houses to divert the water away from the leach field and the house. Currently, the county has no easement to divert water from the road into Iron Gate on that lot. A lot of properties do have easements, but 221 Wellington Circle does not. The permanent, like I say, a permanent solution needs to be put in place to channel water away from the property and out of the neighborhood. If water keeps flooding the temporary drainage ditch, it'll only get bigger and it could compromise the integrity of the surrounding trees and root systems. There's a picture of the fence, and you can see where it's been dug under. Somebody painted a little bullseye right where they use that little scooping thing that they use to dip the ditches, I think the term is. That was to allow the water to flow under the fence and into the backyard of 221 Wellington Circle. All along the county there, this is just pictures of like January of 2021, I believe, where you had a lot of rain that month. This is probably a normal flow for a storm that's a couple days in length, maybe half inch or an inch of water. And this is before the berm was created to actually push the water away from the house. The house is to the left of these bushes, so this is the berm that was created in place now that actually push the water over to the right, over a little drainage ditch. So I was talking about it runs along between the two properties. This is more illustration of water coming off the road. And that's down inside Iron Gate, the Wellington Circle itself, where it runs into the culvert and on down into Iron Gate. As you can see, it's a lot of water that would be helpful for the whole entire neighborhood if it was piped out of Iron Gate, past the East Gate entrance, perhaps a culvert for something to go under it and pipe it on out down the hill away from the community. Anyway, it's caused, like I say, the leach field in the back of our property, had to replace it for about $8,000, the deck, the air conditioner, and it's been quite expensive to put the property back the way it should be and put a temporary fix in place. Anyway, I submit this for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Alley. Brad, have you been out or think to look at this property and maybe come up and give us a little further insight if you?
Yeah, so Dink and I met with the Alleys, I think originally, I want to say maybe it was around 21 or 22.
22.
Somewhere in that range. And we visited the site, and I did see, there is a good volume of, pretty large volume of water that comes out of the ditch of Cypress Lake Road and runs into their backyard. From what we can tell, I guess it's always been that way. So when Iron Gate was constructed, where their house is located, it's kind of at a low point in between the two entrances that go into Iron Gate that come off of Cypress Lake Road. So you have the two entrances into Iron Gate, and then they're about halfway in between roughly, and it's like in a sag point in between those two entrances. So water in the ditch kind of comes to the low point, which is in their backyard, and then it flows downhill into the subdivision into Iron Gate internally. So I think when Dink and I originally looked at it, we were, of course, hesitant to change the natural flow of the water because whenever you do that, you're obviously going to put it on somebody else where it hasn't gone in the past. But I did see the damage that the Alleys had in their backyard with their septic system and the area, I think, around the back of their house where the patio is. They did have a good bit of damage that comes from the water that comes off the road in that area. I did see that.
Brad, I met with the Alleys and Miss Bulloch yesterday morning and looked at it, and of course we determined that the drainage in the subdivision is, we can't do anything about that, but we discussed this problem that they having, and had y'all figured on putting a pipe under one of the entrances and moving that?
Right. So if the water is to be rerouted somewhere where it doesn't go into Iron Gate, into the subdivision, the only solution I see, again, because since you have the two entrances that are a little bit higher than the area where they are in the middle, you're going to have to, we would have to regrade the ditch to try to take that water basically through the hill. So you'd have to put a pipe that goes through that hill, and it would have to be a long enough pipe to get you to a point where the water would drain to the east. There's some wetlands down there. And again, of course, to do that, you'd have to talk to the property owner down there to make sure, you know, you probably have to get a drainage easement because we would be sending water there that's never gone there before. You wouldn't want to cause any drainage impacts. But no, that would be the only direction I see you can take it. You can't take it across Cypress Lake Road because it's higher on that side. So you would have to put a fairly long run of pipe. You would have to go through the entrance in the Iron Gate, which doesn't have any pipe underneath it right now. So that would be part of it. You'd have to tear up the entrance to Iron Gate, install a pipe that goes underneath it. And I think you'd have to have close to 500 feet of pipe to get it to a point where it would drain downhill into that wet area down there. So my, you know, just rough guessing, probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to do the construction work because it's pretty long run of pipe you got to put in.
And I talked with Mr. Alley yesterday, and he determined that there wasn't an easement across his property for that water to go. But to solve the problem, and if he would be willing to give you an easement, could you not put a pipe right there where y'all got that cut and let it go down where it won't wash through his yard anyway? It'll be in a pipe. I don't even know if he would consider that, but I mean, if that would take care of his problem and he'd give a whatever foot easement you need, and that way you wouldn't have to run but the pipe, maybe a little catch basin there where that fence was at, and let it come there and go to the ditch in Iron Gate.
That was my original thought when I saw it a couple of years ago, just because that's where the water goes naturally. But there, like Mr. Alley said, there is no easement currently, and so you know you have to get a drainage easement to do that. But you know that is where it currently goes, and so I think when you know one of those pictures that showed the cut in underneath the fence and the dirt that was kind of mounted up. I think on at least the date that was on the picture, I think it was around 2005. That's where that picture was taken. But I believe the idea was to, and I think there was a previous property owner before you guys lived there, right?
Correct.
Y'all, I think you guys moved in
It was
around.
pooling up so much, I believe that they had to do something to keep the water from backing up towards the road, which that could cause problems to the integrity of the highway.
Right. And so I think what the idea here was the dirt was kind of put in to keep the water from going straight at the house, and maybe direct it in between the two houses along the property line, which is kind of where Commissioner Rushing was describing. So I think they were trying to redirect the water away from the house and run it in between the two houses is probably what the idea was. That was before I was with the county, but I would guess that was likely done at the request of the property owner at the time, but don't know all the history on that.
Mr. Alley, would you be willing to meet with him and see if y'all could look at that I'm talking about?
Sure. Look at any possibility or any alternative to try to fix the problem.
Okay.
Because right now, that ditch is just a temporary fix I put in place. The ditch is just gonna keep getting bigger.
Yep.
The trees start falling.
And that's one of his main concerns, just washing away from the roots of them trees, and then he's gonna have a tree on his house or his neighbor's house, and then his neighbor's gonna be fussing at him because and that's, if we can get there and get him some kind of relief or see what we can do. Well, I know it's a bad situation. I mean, it's downhill about 3 ways, really, across the road and coming to him from both sides. So, I mean, he's really catching the.
Essentially, it's an issue that probably should have been addressed when Iron Gate was built, or at least when that part of Iron Gate was built, but it wasn't, and this was years ago. So we're here now, this is where we're at, and they do have, considerable amount of water that comes into the yard. And I know that Ms. Bulloch has brought up issues internally where, this water goes in, but not just this water, but water from other directions as well goes into the subdivision and some wetlands that are internal, and it's caused some issues where it's creeping up on people's backyards and that kind of thing. But I want to say it's probably about 20 acres that drains into those wetlands that are in the middle, and the road would only be, it's only a small part of it. So I think they have some issues with the drainage easements internally that need to be maintained that would help with some of that. But
Most of the properties have easements. I'm not sure whether it was just neglected on 221, but it was built in '05, and a lot of the other properties were built in the late '90s, and maybe they just forgot to get one. I don't know.
And I guess just for clarification, the drainage easements that are inside the subdivision, the county doesn't maintain those. It's, I'm assuming it's homeowners association or?
It's still owned by the developers. We went through all of that. I mean, they kind of understand that our hands is tied with all that until the developers straighten that out. But this issue is the main one that's, I think he feels like, and I don't blame him, that it's kind of our responsibility. I mean, it's coming off of our shed onto him, and it wouldn't be so bad if he was somewhere for it to go, but it just gets in his yard. And he's done put a brand new septic tank system in there, about 10 grand, and it's washing on it too, so I understand. So if you'd meet with him and see if we can't work out some kind of easement through him or through him and his adjacent neighbor or whatever, and see if we can't do something there.
Thank you, Brad. And thank you, Mr. Alley. It sounds like the solution, y'all get together and maybe talk, also bring in the developer for the, maybe further discussion on possible easement, allotment there.
We also have Ms. Becky Alley. Okay, and then Ms. Magina Bulloch.
Hi, I'm Magina Bulloch, and I live at 302 Royal Crest Court. I would just like to clarify a couple of things that was said. That ditch was not dug like that until 2005. The houses were built in 2005, the Alley's house, and there's a couple of others on that way. The county made that the low point. When they bullseye the fence and when they dug under the fence. They never dug that ditch before those houses were built and the Alley's house was built. And that puts a lot more water into the system in Iron Gate, the drainage system in Iron Gate, which eventually goes to the pond over there, which is actually behind my house. So diverting that water from the highway into Iron Gate is you diverting water onto somebody's property. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bullock. Now we're going to go into staff and commissioner comments. Do we have any comments this morning by the staff? Mr. Butler.
Good morning. Dink Butler, Public Works Director. Felt the need this morning to come give you an update kind of on our storm situation. From the storm, we had at one point 91 roads closed. We have 13 that are still closed. Most, I think one of those is paved and the rest of them are dirt. And there's still 2 bridges closed. One of those is because of problems on the Evans County side. So we're maintaining closure on Deloach Church Road Bridge for Evans County because they've got some damage there that they've got to repair. The other one is the Arcola Bridge, which we've got permission from DOT to open, but we have an issue there with EMC has rerouted some power lines and attached it to the bridge to get power back to some customers that was on the far side of the creek from when the storm came through. After the storm on 8/12, you heard the presentation for us for emergency response funding, and you granted that at that time. The next morning, we received contact from FEMA. That emergency funding was basic, an application from us without the expectation of any consideration from FEMA for participating in our recovery. So the next morning, we received contact from FEMA that they were going to do some scoping and some site visits to give us a determination on whether they would obligate any grants or not. We're still in limbo on that, that we're supposed to be getting them some information. I started yesterday afternoon putting that together to explain to them how we came up with our numbers for damage recovery. And I think we presented $10 million to them that it was going to take for recovery. And they're asking for some justification on that $10 million estimate. So we're working on that. Hopefully we'll finish it today and resubmit that to FEMA. And provided that that's agreeable, I'm assuming we'll have a scoping meeting with them in the near future. I say all that to say that when you pledge the emergency response funding, and we received the information from FEMA the next morning, we held off on obtaining any outside services to help us repair the roads. We wanted to be sure at that point that if we used outside services, that it would be recoupable money. We wanted FEMA's guidance on how to do that and be able to recoup the money that we spend for that. So we held off on obtaining any outside services to help us repair roads. We did, however, even before that obligation was granted and through Mr. Couch's approval, obtain rental trucks to haul rock for us to our yard. And we have been hauling rock to the yard since just a few days after the storm. We obtained the rental trucks to do that so that we could free our trucks up to work on road repairs themselves. So we've repaired a lot of roads. We've bladed a lot of roads. I won't call them graded. They're not back up to grade. They're not back to contour, but they are passable for the residents and emergency services. We've been contacted numerous times by Board of Education about dirt road access for buses, and we are still not giving that green light from our standpoint that these roads are safe for bus travel. They're basically one-lane roads in a lot of locations, and if a bus meets any kind of traffic that they have to move over to get by the traffic, it would jeopardize the travel of the bus and the children that might be on it. So we're holding off on giving any kind of approvals for the Board of Education. We've given them access to all of our mapping and evaluations that we've done. We've mapped the county. Dow has got that on the website, and it shows all of the areas, ones that are passable, the ones that are not passable, the problem areas that we have to work on. It's all color-coded. It's got a legend there. Anybody can look at it and see kind of what the status is for the county. When you look at the whole county and all of the color coding that's on there, it gives you a picture of just how massive this destruction was. So I say all of that to say FEMA contacted Corey either yesterday afternoon or this morning, and so they have basically said we can proceed with outside service as long as we track all of the information, and it would be reimbursable. So we will be proceeding in the next few days to try to obtain some outside service to help us get further on these roads quicker. So I just wanted to give you an update. If you have any questions, be glad to answer them.
Well, Dink, my understanding is, though, you did tell the Board of Education that they could go out and look at the roads, and if they
We
felt
gave
like
them
they're-
access to the map, and if they want to make the determination to use them, that's on them.
Yeah.
We just didn't feel safe to do that because just the discomfort of the width of the roads and maybe possibly meeting traffic and what that might do.
Thank you. Thanks again for all your hard work and dedication to looking out for the county, and not only the safety on that side, but then also on the financial side to, to look out for the reimbursements as much as we can get.
Yeah, it's not just me. It's a team effort from everybody, including all of Public Works, Public Safety, Corey, Randy Tillman. It's the Sheriff's Department, everybody. It's just been a team effort for all of us, and I think we've done an exceptional job so far to get as far as we have. So thank y'all for your support.
Really appreciate it.
And I would like to say, just to give everybody a kind of idea, I met with the county administrator from Evans County on Kennedy Bridge, and I met and Brad Jones, which is the chairman-elect for Candler County. And the difference between Bulloch County and them counties, the administrator from Evans County, I said, well, how many dirt roads y'all got? He said, well, we ain't in bad shape. I said, how many motor graders y'all got? He said, one. He said, I think we got 121 miles of dirt roads. And I asked Brad Jones, that I've been knowing for years, for Candler County, how many motor graders y'all got? 3. And so Bulloch County, am I right? We got 14 with 14 regular graders and 2 alternates, or
We
is it 12?
got 12 in hand. There's 2 that should be delivered next month, which would give us 14. We've been maintaining 12 for several years, but we're going to hold on to the 2 that we were planning that would normally rotate out just as backup equipment. The supply chain issues for repairs and parts have just gotten crazy. So we feel the need to hold on to those. So if one breaks down, we've got something else we can supplement back into the place of it and try to have some backup.
I just wanted to
So
mention.
that's what we intend on by the end of next month. We'll probably have 14 in hand, and 12 of those will be on a routed system for servicing citizens.
I just wanted to mention that. So when they say, well, we back and running in Evans County, well, I mean, it don't take long to get back and running.
I wish we didn't have but 120 miles. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Any more comments from staff?
Just a reminder for everyone about the special meeting on Friday morning at 8:30 to approve the millage rates. Let's just make sure it's on everybody's calendar. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think it might be prudent to have a brief discussion about last week's annexation objection. And if I could impose on Mr. Pope to give us a report. I think we ran into a snafu with it that was unintentional, but had to do with, we'll call it the state's intransigence.
Thank you, Mr. Couch. I'm James Pope. I'm the Planning and Development Director. And Mr. Akins can chime in as well, but just want to let the county know that we did file a annexation protest, I guess you would say, as instructed by the commissioners last week. And in getting the paperwork and all together, we felt like we submitted everything that was required by the Department of Community Affairs, in which, as a bureaucrat, talking about a bureaucratic organization, DCA is a very sometimes difficult organization to work with. But we felt like we did everything that was required of us, and then came back that they wanted a form, but they never really specified at what time that form was needed by. So Monday morning, Mr. Akins and I were trying to finalize that form, and there was some contact information and various information that was required on that form. We just in the haste of, the couple of days, that information was not exactly available to us right away. And so we felt like we were okay, but then, again, yesterday morning, they sent an email saying that it was, they were going to refuse to appoint an arbitration board just based on leaving that form out of the initial packet. I think it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but we have asked for DCA to reconsider. I don't have, much hope in that really, but, that's about the best I can say. And I don't know, Mr. Couch or Jeff, if y'all want
Well,
to say anything.
in my review of the email exchange, I think some of the technicality with H2A form or something like that, I don't think it was explained as a courtesy by DCA when they told you in the email that this particular form needed to be submitted. I don't think they gave any warning or indication that the 45th day would be on a Saturday. Is that correct?
I think that's fair to say, but again, I guess I would say, okay, well, now we're here, where do we go, how do we go forward? The county still has control of access onto Burkhalter Road, and so as staff, we are working with the city and the developer in scoping out the traffic study that would be required, or that is required for that development, in which, we would control access onto the road. Any future improvements would either be, they would be certainly paid by the developer, but whether that's into an infrastructure bank for future improvements or immediate improvements along, Burkhalter Road or the intersections that they would impact. So we do still, it's not like we just gave everything, all control over to the city. We do have, control of the road and access.
Right, and I'll just say, I think that's a good way. I mean, we can still have some interaction with the city on the infrastructure and who's going to pay for what and what's needed. The annexation objection, as Mr. Couch said, they didn't give any indication. The email they sent Friday, they said, we need these additional items, and one of them was that form. They gave no indication on Friday that if we didn't submit it by Saturday, that they wouldn't accept it. Well, then we get this email Monday morning from DCA saying, well, the time's passed. Your request for an annexation panel is void, and we declined to appoint a panel. I sent them an email asking them to reconsider, because I view that as a technicality. I mean, I don't think the merits of the whole case ought to be thrown out just because frankly, we can't submit that. We've got to get information from Statesboro and from the owner as to who they want their contact to be and their contact information. That's not something that we can just wave a magic wand and produce. But I have not gotten a response from them, and I just checked my email, haven't gotten a response. I'm sort of like James. I think that route's probably foreclosed to us at this point. But I am glad to hear that we can have some negotiations with the city about infrastructure improvements and who may be responsible for that, as far as the cost of it and maintaining it. And we ran into a similar issue last time with DCA. They're very hyper-technical with their rules, and it's almost as if they look for ways to avoid appointing an arbitration panel. Unfortunately, the law, and this is something we may want to talk to our legislators about, that seems to be the only route that's open to a county to object to an annexation. So if that doesn't, for some reason, doesn't work, you really don't have any other way to do it. But that's where we are with it at this point.
I assume DCA was working all day Saturday, correct? Just a little sarcasm.
But just to mention, I talked to the attorneys with the developers. They called me, and Mr. Akins would have to elaborate on this. I think the objections, we had 2 or 3 things that we could object on, and I think like the Beasley Road deal was what on the traffic, on the road situation. And they led me to believe that, they didn't have any problem and that they had been in touch with the city, and the city really doesn't have a problem, but they just got to have they got to know what we want. They don't, in other words, I think his exact words, we don't mind putting skin in the game. I mean, if that's what it is, I mean, that's just what it is. So if they come to the table like that and take our objections away anyway, then it'll all be handled because, I mean, it'll be over with like it was last time. I mean, so
Yeah,
I don't know, we'll have to see how it plays out and let them talk, I guess.
I think in the end, what would have happened, the property would have been annexed no matter what. That's just, the arbitration panel is not going to say you cannot annex this property. So in the end, it was going to be transportation improvements or the network improvements in which we still have control. So certainly in the future, maybe we'll take a look at these items sooner and get a little longer runway on getting the forms in and making sure everything's good to go. But anyway, again, I'm sorry it happened, but I think we're still in a pretty good position in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Pope.
I think, this is something that we may really need to talk to our representatives about. I've talked to a lot of citizens. Everybody don't want to be in the city. It kind of seems unfair that, you can send, a developer can just say, well, we want to do this and we want to put everybody in the city, but everybody doesn't want to be in the city. It just leaves the county like with our hands tied that we can't do anything about it. And it's something we may really need to look into, even though it may not do any good, but it's just something we need to maybe get with them.
Probably ACCG would be a good route, since it's a statewide county issue.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Do we have any more comments from the commissioners?
One more thing, and I'm through. Ty, she got recognized earlier, and like Mr. Couch said, I just wanted everybody to know that if you don't know her, she's the receptionist that sits up front with Miss Venus, and she took that on herself last year. And it isn't as simple as she goes and gets some pencils and hands it out to the youngest that's going to school. She takes on her off time. She gets donations as school supplies. She gets money. She goes on her off time. She buys for different age that goes to school. She gets printed bags. She does it all by herself. She puts it on the internet. She has them come by. It's not a Bulloch County thing. It's a Ty thing, and she is just that's way above and beyond anything that's asked out of her because it's her personal time that she uses up. And I just wanted to point that out to everybody. She made a little school bus out of a cardboard box. I mean, just a lot went into it. So that night that she just passed out some pencils, and I just wanted everybody to know how hard she really did work because, like Mr. Cap said, she got no recognition last year, a failure on my part, and I guess all of ours. But she really done a lot for that, and we appreciate her for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Rushing. Hearing no further comments from the commissioners, I must now call for a motion to adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of OCGA 50-14-3B2 and other applicable laws pursuant to the advice of County Attorney Jeff Akins for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor? Show of hands. Unanimous decision. We are now in executive session.